In his Freedom Day address yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa encouraged South Africans to not give up on their country, but instead unite to build a nation that we can be proud of. But personal finance experts are warning that this can be difficult to achieve when the financial freedom of many South Africans strive for seem out of reach. And to help me make sense of this, I am now joined by Gugu Sidaki, who is a wealth manager and director at Wealth Creed. Thank you so much for your time, Gugu, and for actually finally getting you into studio.
Morning, Dogozo. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I think let's start the conversation here, Gugu. Financial literacy, financial freedom, or specifically financial literacy has been something that has been in discussion for a long while, and that it's quite dismal, the financial literacy rates in South Africa. What exactly is financial freedom, and how does that correlate with financial literacy?
So financial freedom is your ability to control your time and to do what you want with your life, but obviously it has to be enabled by an asset base or cash or money of sorts. And that's ultimately what financial freedom is. And there's a direct link between your ability to be financially free and your level of financial literacy, because financial literacy is your ability to make sound or clever decisions around things such as spending, how you spend your money, whether you accumulate debt, where at which points in your life you accumulate debt and whether it makes sense, and your ability to understand the difference between saving and investing, and because there's a fundamental difference between the two, and when you engage in either, whether you save or whether you invest for the long term.
And saying making wise decisions, Gugu, it's not always so easy to make those financial decisions that are wise financial decisions, especially if you're under pressures such as increasing inflation, increasing interest rates. How do South Africans then get themselves into that mindset of saying, regardless of how much actually comes in, I will make wise financial decisions? And what do those wise financial decisions actually look like? Because it could be a wise financial decision to buy a home, but if you can't afford it, then it's not really a wise decision.
I think it's important for us to firstly address the obvious issue that South Africans are facing, and that's people are unemployed. I mean, the youth unemployment rate is well over 60%. That's an issue. So you're never going to get a person like who's not working to be able to save towards their financial success. That's not going to work. And I think it's important to state that a lot of people who are working are earning below the minimum wage or the living wage. A person like that is preoccupied with survival. You cannot budget your way out of that, no matter what you do. So I think those aspects are important to address long before we start talking about financial freedom and financial success. A lot of South Africans are spending a lot of their take-home pay to service debt. I think the numbers that were released by SARS is that 75% of people's take-home pay is spent to service debt.
And we know debt should be less than, what, 20% of your total income?
Roughly. I mean that's a serious number that people have to contend with. A person in that situation is never going to be able to save. They're never going to be able to accumulate funds for emergencies, for example, because they are, as I said, they're preoccupied with surviving. You asked, what does a person need to do to achieve financial success? There's a number of things that you need to do. Those who are in a fortunate position to be able to save, to be able to accumulate funds, it's important for you to firstly articulate what financial success means to you. I mean, the goal or the end goal is really, really important. You can't be saving if you don't know what you're saving towards. You can't be investing money if you don't know what the end goal is. So you have to clearly articulate what it is that you're working towards. And once that picture is quite clearly defined, you can then engage certain strategies to work towards that. Having disposable income is crucial. So keeping your expenses below your income in the current environment, which is very difficult, is crucial. So because once you have disposable income, you then have options, right? You can then decide whether you're going to pay down debt, if that's a sensible thing for you to do. You can then start accumulating funds towards emergencies, because even that gives you options as well in the face of unemployment, in the face of dealing with an ungrateful boss, whatever the case is. And then ultimately you're able to accumulate funds for your financial freedom, your financial success, through the accumulation of assets. So for example, you can save towards retirement in a retirement product or outside of the retirement space. So those are the three major things. Clearly articulate what it is you're working towards, keep your expenses below your income, and then you can start allocating the funds accordingly.
And those 3 steps, you know, saving, getting an emergency fund and investing. The third part seems to be really a sticky point for a lot of South Africans, especially young people that are trying to diversify their income, that are trying to get, you know, quick money coming in. And that investment sphere is getting a little bit of, you know, muddy because of some of the scams that we see there and the get-rich-quick schemes. When it comes to investments, if I've managed to actually save a little bit and I've managed to buffer myself for a couple of months with that emergency fund, how do I look at investments holistically, long term, but also look at it in the short term and make sure that I'm not falling for scams, but actually investing in a way that will lead me to financial freedom?
You know, you mentioned scams. It's such a crucial thing for young people to understand that there are a lot of people out there who are out to get your money, right? And you need to keep your wits about you. You cannot commit your hard-earned money. You cannot part with your hard-earned money and give it to just anybody that you meet. It's important for you to do your homework, do your research before you commit your money towards any, I don't want to say scam or scheme, but any investment product. I think there's a misconception when it comes to investments that you need a lot of money to invest, and nothing could be further from the truth. So you need to start with what you have, as little as you have. I mean, there are a lot of investment platforms these days which will accept as little as 100 rands to invest. So start with what you have. The second step is start as soon as possible, right? The third step is do your homework. A lot of people get so fixated, and I see this a lot in practice. People get so fixated with stock picking. It's exciting. It's exciting to get onto these platforms and then pick and choose stocks. And I think it's a great way for you to learn and to understand how markets work. But you don't really get bang for your buck by picking individual stocks, especially when funds are limited. So you actually make a lot, it actually makes a lot more sense for you to invest in things like collective investments. For example, unit trusts or exchange traded funds where a little goes a very long way. You get the diversification that you need both from a local and an offshore perspective and across asset classes as well. So start with what you've got, start as soon as possible and spread the money as wide as possible. But the trick with investments, and I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up, is that once you're in, stay in, right? Because the magic with investments is actually in the long term, is getting in there and staying in there.
Gugu, thank you, as always, for talking to us and giving us those insights. Of course, that was Gugu Sidaki, who is a wealth manager and director with Creed Wealth.